Hello, everyone. My name is Anjali Sreekumar, and I'm an engineering manager at LendingTree in Charlotte. I'm here to present an interesting use case regarding how we try to decode financial literacy from customer feedback. So, this is really regarding understanding the personal financial knowledge about each customer with which they actually decide or make decisions, make financial decisions in their lives, and how if we can use it to make or empower the customers in return. So these are some of the indicators in the conversation that we have come across. Most of them revolve around, paying credit cards, the money that they have borrowed, their plans to buy a new car or a new home, the outstanding debt or a loan that they need to clear, the budget that they run their families on, their investment and savings plans, and things like bill payments, and generic conversations that are more human, and they are not really like you come for a specific product and you want a homeowner insurance, and yeah, just provision me that. It's really all the background information that goes around it, which could give more insight into their financial situation and help us, the fintech world, cater to their needs in a better and a meaningful way. So these are the conversation indicators from conversations. And what data do we get these from? They are mostly generic ratings, reviews that they give on public forums, discussion forums, the actual conversation that we have with them over a call, via emails, and the number of ratings, the votes that they have given for certain financial product, and even like general discussions when we meet them personally, like a conference or even a client event. So these are all the data that we kind of consolidated. And of course, they will be unstructured and very ambiguous. So that's where we start with sort of an exploratory data analysis with a trial and error mindset and kind of visualize all the data that we have. And we found out that there are a lot of insightful information in these, or hidden in these conversations with them. So the first part of getting to those valuable information is by slicing and dicing this data into more structured formats, segmenting them, and visualizing them, trying to see if there is any pattern, score them, and evaluate and validate, of course, to see if whatever we found is actually making sense. And then get them into a more refined and structured data format from where you can further down apply more deep learning models. So the role of natural language processing, it ranges from a simple application like just detecting language, um, understanding the context, like simple context of what maybe it is finance, or it's biotech or biomed, pharmacy, just understanding the context, simple things. It ranges from simple things of that nature to more complex understanding, natural language understanding tasks like sentence classification, sentiment analysis, understanding or detecting, or making more sense of the words pertaining to a context of that conversation. Those are more involved and more difficult to process using a machine. So we specially focused on the sentence classification because that was found to be useful. And what we found was, generally, in these conversations, the topics almost always revolved around managing spending, saving, borrowing, and protecting, but also about how they have transitioned, the customer has transitioned from making this wealth and eventually growing it, and how they have evolved over time in terms of their financial knowledge. So when you look at the fintech industry, what the customers look for and what the businesses are actually looking for are like not on the same plane. So if the customer is seeking knowledge, the businesses are more seeking for market share. If the customer is actually influencing economic parameters, the businesses want to influence the customer's decision in order for them to loop them into a specific finance product that they provide. Same way customers drive for value, they want to generate more value, whereas corporations and businesses drive towards more sales. And it's very tricky to find that a level playing field where you feel that the customer also is successful together with the businesses, and both the sides are happy. And in order to make that happen, or you know uh, realize it into or make it into a reality, it's important to have transparency in the conversations that we have. And it's we have been using like various not just natural language processing techniques, but also like machine learning techniques in order to just classify, group, segment customers and target marketing per segment. But we are not so much invested in making sure that as we grow, as the businesses grow, how do we make sure that the customers actually are evolving, are becoming better at making financial decisions and make more informed decisions about their finances. And this we found that can become a reality using learning models based on interactions, based on these conversations. And that will not just help us to get to the customer need more accurately, precisely, and to the point, but also help provide positive financial or promote positive financial conversations, and also provide them a feedback as to where they stand in their understanding about their, for example, borrowing capacity, their credit scores, how they can improve that, and building that trust and supporting that informed decision making. That's what we want to target. This is a common scenario of a first time home buyer who is looking for a home loan. And most of the time we see that a large proportion of these home buyers end up taking loans from banks which either probably their families would have suggested, or they might have gone with their you know maybe a hasty decision just because they are closer to the closing date, and end up having that lack of clarity as to what they're getting themselves into when they are purchasing the home loan, or purchasing a home and getting into a mortgage themselves. So and home buying process itself is very complex. So breaking it down, giving them more clarity as to what each step entails and why banks are coming up with different numbers for their same loan, that would give more confidence to the customer and gives them an edge to actually negotiate a better deal with the bank. So for now, I stop the philosophical conversation there and talk more about how BERT can actually help with this goal. So BERT is bidirectional encoder representations from transformers, and we'll talk more about what a transformer is. They're basically used for question answering setup and sentiment analysis. They're very capable of understanding contextual meaning of the intentions rather than just textual meaning, or like the meaning of the text by itself. Rather than that, it actually uses the context in which that conversation is fitting and helps decipher the real intentions of the customer conversation. In order to understand a bit about what is that bidirectional transformer that's sitting in between, let's look at this simple example. Here we have a sentence with a blank, and our goal is to fill in that appropriately. I have recently decided to purchase a new home and I would like to apply for a loan. Would you be able to help me identify the So if you stop at that and just look at the blank and don't read after the blank, you can come up with different words like bank. Could you help me identify the agent? Could you help me identify the best interest rate? Anything. But when you see the word that comes after the blank, which is offer, then you fit in your brain automatically fits in like, yeah, I want to they are asking for the best offer. So the way our brain just reacted, because it found out that it needed more information to understand the context in order to better fit in a right word into that blank. And this is a bidirectional learning. So it not just helps in understanding the continuity of the context, like are they disconnected sentences? Do they sequentially fall after logical sequence of the story? Does it follow one after the other? And even predict what could be the next conversation, next logical conversation that we could make out of this current context. So that's a huge capability that BERT came with. And thanks to all the attention mechanism that's driving this. So sometime in 2017, this paper on attention is all you need, this really came in with the introduction of transformer, which is based on this attention mechanism, that it lay emphasis on different phrases and words on the sentence in order to identify which one symbolizes or conveys the topic of the context more strongly and scores them appropriately. And this doesn't require the complex convolution or the recurrent neural networks that had been traditionally used, which is much more complex. Even though they had been giving good results, this is more simplified, and it has proven itself to be generating equivalently good results or much better in certain cases when it comes to responding to certain the dialogue exchange kind of a use case, question answering, predicting the next conversation or the next sentence, and disambiguation of the word sense, sentiment classification, all these kind of natural language understanding tasks. And this is what is the core behind BERT. So this proved to be very useful and very promising for our use case, where we are trying to build in that um, capability to mine new information regarding an indicator that talks about or that conveys financial knowledge about a customer's finances, and help us, or not us like a bot, be able to decide on what could be a logical next conversation that we could have, and provide this feedback to the customer, communicate what we have understood using our BERT model, and build that trust and build that unbiased and transparent communication channel. So this building a new BERT model would require us to pre-train with a label data set and fine tune it further for our specific use case. But that shouldn't be a big deal, because we have the data, we have already analyzed, explored, and we have the data set ready. So all that we have to do is make sure that we use the mask, in caching on the mask language modeling. We use the context classifier based on the 5 indicators that we spoke before. We then do the text to token mapping, train the tokenizer, and eventually train the model. In order to train a new BERT model, we start with pre-training and then fine-tuning. So for pre-training, we use the masked language modeling capabilities and train the model with the data set that we have already labeled for this use case. And then you use the context classifier based on the 5 indicators that we discussed a few slides back. You then map the text to token, train the tokenizer, and then eventually train the model. Once you reach the training the model phase, you are in that iterative loop of observing the results, validating them, going back and refining them, the model itself, in order to have not to see what is the best accuracy you could receive. So this fine tuning phase, you can use a test on various customer financial conversation data sets, perform further training to fit it to this use case, and refine your input pipeline. And we have seen that if this is followed, you could reach a good accuracy levels for the prediction and even get better insightful information regarding where the customer actually places himself or herself in terms of their knowledge about their financial situation, and based on which they actually go ahead and make these financial decisions for their life. So how all this helps with the decoding part of things? So the main thing is to help the customers gain more confidence when they are actually in conversation with a bank or with an insurance provider, and help them feel the level playing ground in order to negotiate a better rate of interest, a better product availability, and and that actually not just is a winning situation for the businesses where they are gaining this customer for a specific product line, but they could also cross sell other products to them based on their financial story. And consolidating this large volume of data and analyzing them to mine or to extract these insightful information, BERT and natural language understanding techniques take large amount of complexity away from humans, and applying this capability into the actual operational philosophy of fintech could not just improve the general customer experience, but would also enable better trust and better branding. So this can be achieved or applied using chatbots, which would make financial conversations more interactive without feeling biased and without feeling judgmental. Because when it's a human on the other side, there is more hesitations around making these kind of conversations. And when you see that it's a chatbot and it's an intelligent chatbot which is able to give sensible insight into whatever you are trying to tell to the chatbot, that feedback would avail or will be appreciated by the customer in a very different level. So mining information related to these parameters that help make meaningful decisions for the customer's financial standing would give us, or would give these businesses, the fintech industry, more opportunity to segment or profile customers in a more fine way where more parameters are considered, and it would target the products in a more meaningful way. So rather than just grouping a large group of people which probably have diverse set of other requirements into one group and targeting them for a particular product, rather than that, you kind of diversify it, segment them more appropriately, and educate them about these new products where you are you are in level playing with the customer. So this not just builds trust, it also serves as a winning customer and a happy customer where they are confidently able to make decisions and negotiate with financial organizations for a better deal and for better value for their own financial situations. So this this part where if we are able to make sense or decipher these minute pieces of information from the customer's conversation, that's what is being decoded, because we already have this data but we haven't been using it or doing anything with them. But now we have the capability to actually analyze more contextual, in depth intentions of the customer and then break them down into the actual needs and target or service those needs, those customer needs in a more targeted way. And that results in better customer satisfaction and a more transparent business dealing with them.